Hello, John here, your friendly remote CPA. I just wanted to make a quick video to talk about something that we're seeing more and more with our home builder clients, which is an out-of-date BuilderTrend file. As much as we love BuilderTrend and all of its capabilities, the budgeting, all the reporting, it's really a lot to keep up with if you are manually keying and pecking in data on a day-by-day basis. So I wanted to expose some of the tricks that we've learned over the past few years on how to get data into BuilderTrend a lot faster. So I've got a sample QuickBooks file open. Obviously, I'm not using any live client data. And right off the bat, I'm going to tell you two of our best kept secrets. First is AirTable. So this is a great tool. It's like a spreadsheet on steroids. You might wonder why you don't just use a spreadsheet, but in this case, you can pre-populate a lot of the fields to have limited data entry ability. So for example, you can't enter something in a field that's not already in QuickBooks. So you can set up your vendor list in advance. So if you have someone entering data on your behalf, they can't use a typo to get somebody's vendor name wrong. So this is the template that we use. The main tab is the bills. The next tab is the product and services, which is just a export from QuickBooks. And then we have a listing of all of our current clients, so we can make sure that we are tagging all of our expenses to the correct job. So we make sure that we're not going over budget on those jobs. And then we also have a listing of all of our allowances because we want this process to be as consistent as possible. So we're going to enter all of our weekly payables in this Airtable spreadsheet, but we recognize the importance of entering allowances and selections in BuilderTrend the old-fashioned way because it gives you a lot more data. This Airtable is great because in each of these records, you can expand it and you can attach files right in here. This is the template that we use. We love it. We put the attachment right in here. And then when it uploads to QuickBooks, it comes with this link. So anyone who finds this transaction in QuickBooks later just clicks on this link and it takes them directly to this screen and they can see the attachment. Because unfortunately, when you do upload with Airtable, it's a little bit less data that comes into BuilderTrend. It doesn't include the attachment. It's just a one box screen that gives you the invoice number, the vendor name. But from what we've found for fixed expenses like gypsum board or foundation, it's totally sufficient. But for selections and allowances, we still want to enter them the old-fashioned way in BuilderTrend so that all of that documentation is there. So you can set up your Airtable template any way that you want. You can make the fields dependent. So for example, like this vendor field is a lookup field. So when I hit this plus, I choose a vendor that's already in my vendor tab over here. And in this case, I'm using this tab to also track the liability, insurance expiration, the workers' comp, a few other things. So if I were to enter a bill, I could just start typing and it will bring up the vendor that matches the first part of what I'm typing. So I know it's so chaotic throughout your work week as you've got invoices coming in from every which direction. Maybe you have an accounting or a billing domain email address that all of these bills are coming through. And if you're like us, it just collects. It seems like 100 per week are coming in. And it's really cumbersome to have to get into BuilderTrend and manually key in every single one. So if you can go through your email and just get it into this spreadsheet format, it becomes a little bit easier to digest. And the other thing that you can do is you can share this among your screen or among your team so everyone has access to it. But once you get the data in here, there is one additional tool that you have to use. And in our case, we use something called SaasAnt. So we make sure that all of the products and services are exactly the same as what they are in QuickBooks. So we come over here, we go to the gear icon, we look at all of our products and services, and then you can actually export this list, and then you can dump it into your Airtable, and similar to the vendor name and the job name, which goes into this billable customer, it will ensure that you are only picking the correct one. So there's no other options for a typo, and they have to match one for one with what's in QuickBooks because SaasAnt uploads into QuickBooks. And then on the back end with your BuilderTrend and QuickBooks two-way sync, you'll want to make sure that all of your BuilderTrend cost codes are mapped to your QuickBooks products and services one for one. Ideally, they would all have the same exact name and numbering so that what you see in QuickBooks is exactly what you have in BuilderTrend. So you can go through this Airtable sheet. We have a field in here for questions. So if we have someone who is entering this data, maybe they're not out on the job site and they need to check with the superintendent or something, they'll indicate that they have a question, and then they can go over here and look at one specific view that will highlight all of the items that have a question. So that's really nice because you can make a recurring meeting every week to sit down and go through the questions, and otherwise all of the other bills can just be uploaded. Now, this isn't really ideal for receipts that come in on an ongoing basis. Usually it's best to use another tool for those. It could be the BuilderTrend receipt function that's inside BuilderTrend, or that Home Depot integration that's really nice. And then when you have everything compiled, apparently I have a few different tries here with some blank rows, but we'll assume, or actually I'll just go ahead and delete all of these. It makes you can see how it's a little bit more friendly to work with in a spreadsheet format rather than, you could never get this kind of a view in BuilderTrend. You would never be able to see a listing of all of your weekly transactions, and you would never be able to see it by job. So once I get to this point, I actually just export to a CSV file. So right here, you choose download CSV. And then when you get set up with your account in SaasAnt, there's an option just to upload that CSV, and it will make all of those entries in QuickBooks. And then QuickBooks will push to BuilderTrend, and everything will show up in your budgets almost instantly. And it gives you a lot faster of a tool to generate reports. So I know this is a lot to digest, and it requires a few different subscriptions. Airtable isn't free. SaasAnt is not free. Hopefully you're already using QuickBooks and BuilderTrend with that two-way sync. If you don't want to use Airtable, so maybe you trust yourself to type things perfectly the first time, or you don't necessarily need the ability to have attachments inside your spreadsheet, you could start out with a spreadsheet software like Google Sheets or Excel, and both of those upload into SaasAnt. And then usually what I do after the upload, I usually have someone go in and go into the individual transactions and attach the source document, just so that if we do want to drill down into transactions, we don't have to go back to Airtable. But like I said, each row has this unique link, so that if someone, and we have it set so that it automatically uploads in the memo field of QuickBooks, if someone comes across this transaction in BuilderTrend, they should be able to quickly find it by searching that cost code or that vendor in QuickBooks. And then if they click that link in the memo, it will take them right to the source in Airtable, and they can see that document. You could take this a step further by requiring an approval process every week. So maybe you have a data entry person on your team and they're constantly monitoring that accounting inbox. and they're getting all of this populated, and maybe you decide that you're going to pay all of your subs on Thursdays, so you have them do this upload Thursday morning, but you schedule, a quick 15-minute meeting with them to approve everything that they've compiled over the last week. You go through it, between 9 and 9:15 a.m. You give them some tweaks. Maybe you say that this needs to go to a different cost code. This one isn't ready to be paid yet, so don't upload it. And then once you're done with that meeting, they can go ahead and complete that upload with SaasAnt, and they can print all of the checks from QuickBooks, or you can schedule electronic payments, whatever your fancy is. So I just wanted to give some exposure and a shout out to the tools that we use between AirTable, SaasAnt, QuickBooks, and BuilderTrend. I know it will probably take a deeper dive to perfect your process, but it's just a problem that we keep seeing. Love BuilderTrend. It takes too long to get the data in there. So we would rather have the data in there, even if it has just a little bit information, so that you can rely on your budgets at least on a weekly basis. Because if your budgets are heading off the rails, you want to know right away, and we want to help you with that. So thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful.